Shalom to Dorit Friedman, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Nefesh B'Nefesh, and Benji Davis, Events Coordinator for Nefesh B'Nefesh.
Shalom, Yoni.
Hello, Yoni.
So tell us please about the Impact Israel event.
Impact Israel is an opportunity to engage young professionals to highlight the excellence that Israel offers. Israel is a land full of opportunity, and it has become a magnet for excellence. It's also known, Israel is known as a startup nation, and Nefesh B'Nefesh does startup Aliyah. We're looking to showcase the opportunities, the abilities to express interest in Israel and impact to the demographic that's living here in New York.
Here we're not just talking about Zionism, we're actually living Zionism. We brought 6 Olim from Israel to talk about what they're doing in their fields, ranging from marketing to engineering and high-tech to politics and government and media, foreign relations, investor relations and finance. For here to really talk about with potential new Olim that what they're doing. And for them to connect that not only can they just move to Israel, but that they can really thrive in Israel and make a difference. And not just make a difference in Israel, but make a difference in their careers for Israel, but also make a difference for themselves. That they can see themselves advancing professionally, but doing it where we all know where they want to be, which is in Israel.
How would you characterize the modern Aliyah, immigration to Israel these days?
So when Nefesh B'Nefesh was founded in 2002, the number of North Americans moving to Israel was around 2,000 a year, where 60% of those people who made Aliyah failed. Not because they didn't want to live a life in Israel, not because they didn't have idealism and skills and passion, but because they simply felt alone. Their needs were not addressed. Israel was remarkable in dealing with Aliyah of refuge, of Aliyah of no choice. But here you have individuals who had plenty of choice, and they were opting to move to Israel. One agency handled their move, another agency was supposed to integrate them, and the reality was that they were falling between the cracks. So Nefesh B'Nefesh was an organization that was founded by Olim through their own hardships of Aliyah to affect and to change those reasons for failure. What does that mean? When an Ole comes to Israel, he needs to find a job, he needs to acculturate his family, he needs to create a social network, he needs sometimes financing, financial grant to make the move. It is expensive, and of course, he needs to connect with others. In addition to all of that, we needed to remove a psychological obstacle of all those who had failed and came back and had a bad feeling in their stomach, and sometimes even there was a negative vibe to Aliyah. We had to turn that model around, and we had to create a plan where Olim can simply succeed in Israel. And in 10 years, we've reversed those statistics. We have 4,500 people making Aliyah a year, and our retention rate is perhaps what we're most proud of, which stands at over 90%.
Benji, you meet the Olim. What do you hear from them?
So I've been working at Nefesh B'Nefesh for almost 3 years as a post-Aliyah advisor. So I work with the Olim after they're making Aliyah. And almost every single young Ole that I meet, they have this strong connection, both to the actual land itself and also to the people. And most people tell me, I ask them, well, why did they make Aliyah? It's because of that connection that I have. That connection to the idea, the connection to the land, and the connection to the people. But in 2014, it's even more than that. They see Israel really as the land of the opportunity. And that's funny because we're talking about Olim that are coming from America. But they see in Israel the land of opportunity, both because of the networking and the job opportunities that are there in their fields, but also for the opportunity to have a meaningful life and a meaningful experience working in the careers that they want. For people like me that grew up in a Zionist house, in a connected and traditional house, we always had this dream of, living our dream of living in Israel. But now in 2014, you can really, work in the high-tech sector and make a difference for Israel. And it's a fantastic, amazing thing.
Now tell me please, in such a global world, do you feel that the technology helps, in terms of working via internet and phone?
There are absolutely opportunities in all the fields that you're talking about, whether they're in a technological, in finance, and in education. Sometimes people feel that they may need to make a sacrifice because they're moving to Israel, and maybe the pay is less and the economic opportunities aren't as good, and the cost of living, it might be a little harder. And I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it is true. The cost of living, it can be hard. But in terms of the opportunities, they're there. The unemployment rate in Israel is much lower than it is in, most of the Western world. And that's because I think Israelis, they both have that attitude, or really that motivation to get to where they want to go in life. And why is Israel called the startup nation? Because if someone feels, okay, I'm not finding the job that I want, so you know what they do? They create their own job, they create their own company, and they create their own business. That's why Israel has one of the most number of, companies traded on the NASDAQ, is because us Israelis, when we have an idea, we go do it. And that's what Israeli society and really the Israeli working environment, it's all about. If you have the ambition and the motivation, you can really get to wherever you want to go.
Technology has created a much more smaller global market, which means that we can have radiologists that live in Israel work in Israel and at the same time do teleradiology. We can have individuals that work in high tech. We have people who move to Israel and do business development abroad. The world's a small market now. Our Olim bring, the human capital of our Olim that are infusing Israel are bringing skill sets that are needed both in Israel and in other markets. So we have plenty of Olim who live in Israel and have a presence in Europe and in the US.
So Dorit, Benji, what's next?
We're living in an exciting time right now. This summer alone, we had 2 charter flights in the middle of the war. When Hamas was raining rockets down on us, we had a flight of 340 Olim, over 130 young men and women who were joining the IDF. Families that were moving to the south. Not one family, not one individual actually even delayed their Aliyah. So we feel like we're on the cusp of something big. We see more and more interest. We see more opportunity. Young Olim can come to Israel and get their first degree, their BA or their master's for free. The economy is robust. There are jobs. There's opportunity for meaning, for engagement, for contacts, and for opportunities to thrive. And we see ourselves simply as the catalyst to help that happen, and the organization to just bring all the points together.
The best time to talk about the future is to talk about the past. In the last year, we have tripled our social programming for young professionals, for families, and for retirees. And we're doing educational programming. We're doing social programming. We're helping people with seminars and workshops. We're giving them employment advice, setting them up with jobs, doing employment events, teaching them how to write their CVs in Hebrew, how to do their interview skills to get jobs in Israel. What we're also doing is not just providing programs for the Olim, we're also empowering Olim to be leaders and to do programs for themselves, to set up their own communities, to do their own way of connecting with the Olim, whether it's in Givat Shmuel and they're starting their own Givat Shmuel community there and having Shabbat dinners and having community fairs and Shabbatons, or it's in Tel Aviv, helping the whole infrastructure of all the organizations and that are helping Olim there. The future of, I think, of Aliyah is really the connection that we have. The connection with Nefesh B'Nefesh and the Olim, but also with the other organizations that are doing many things. And we're empowering people, it's 2014, it's in Israel, it's almost 2015. People that they have their own vision, they want to be innovators, they want to be ambitious. My job, and I think the job of Nefesh B'Nefesh, is to empower the Olim to be ambitious, to be innovators, and to make a difference for the future of Israel.
Dorit Friedman, Benji Davis, Nefesh B'Nefesh, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Yoni.